Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for rejoining us on Privilege Card. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of my oldest and dearest friends, Joel Uchiko.
So tell us all about Bikes for the Philippines.
Bikes for the Philippines started sometime in 2011. In that part where we did terrestrial tours, we were using all-terrain vehicles. And as we toured the mountain side of Baclayon, I saw the kids coming down, walking, of course, with their knapsacks. But we were so remote. We were in the middle of nowhere, and I was curious with these kids. Why were they walking down in their flip-flops and bags and in the rain or in mud or in dusty conditions, rocky conditions? So I said they must be going to school. You know, we do the tours early in the morning, so it's not too hot, or late in the afternoon. So in the late afternoon, I would see them going up. So I decided to just ask the principal, out of curiosity, if these kids were really going to school and if there were kids living up there. And she said yes, a majority, especially in the condition, the situation in the Philippines is in each barangay there will be a elementary school, but usually only one high school. So can you imagine if there's only one high school and they live 7 kilometers, so they would walk 7 kilometers to the high school.
Yeah.
So I said that's an easy solution because I'm not a biker, but my son was. And so I said, just give them bicycles because it would be easy, mountain bikes that is, easier for them to travel. If they're in the mountain, going down would be quick. Of course, going up would be a bit difficult, but it's the going to school that's important. In 2010, I called up now Joe Grant, my cousin and a good friend of Christina, because she was the biker, and I asked her if she could collect the bicycles for us.
Oh, so when you saw this going on,
It
just hit you.
It just hit me to ask bikes.
This is a better solution to
Correct.
this problem.
For
So
the
you thought
problem.
of bikes immediately.
Just bikes immediately.
Okay, all right.
And so I asked Joe Grant to collect, and then she asked how many bikes, and I said 100. And she said that won't fit in my garage, and how do I collect 100 bikes? So she said if I was able to write to any foundations, which I already did. There's a lot of foundations in the U.S., all over the world, giving free bicycles. She found one, actually, Bikes for the World. And she said, there's a foundation that wants to give you bikes in the Philippines. I said, oh, perfect. That was in 2010.
My goodness.
Okay.
2010. And so in 2011, my daughter was graduating from university in Houston. And when I went to Houston, and the moment I hit land, I texted Joe and I said, let's get those bicycles. And obviously she said, well, you got to meet that foundation first, right?
Yeah.
I thought the bikes were there. So she said, come to Baltimore. I'll arrange the meeting with Bikes for the World and a group of Filipinos who are willing to help, who want to help. And from Houston, I flew to Baltimore. I met Bikes for the World, Keith Oberg, who's retired now. And I made a short presentation about Bohol, about the Philippines, actually.
Okay. So what was the response?
They said, okay, looks good. But I also wanted to see how they operated.
Okay.
Just to find out.
Of course, yeah. You
Yeah,
have to know
just
what
to
you're
find
getting
out.
into,
You know
right.
so I went to their collection site and I saw, my gosh, this is
they were a fully organized,
especially
institution to get bikes.
Yep. And I went to their warehouse, which was even more amazing, because in that warehouse they had the gym full of, I would say, close to 5,000 bicycles. So I stayed for 3 months, and Joe was working on it also while I was there, but I didn't really know what it took.
You were the first one from the Philippines to ask for bikes?
Actually, I thought I was the first, but there were other groups that were ahead of me.
Okay,
Like
all right,
Rotary Club has done it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a group in Cebu called Bugoy Bikers. It's also, they also give out bikes to children.
Right.
But the thing I would have to say is, we've done this. We've already shipped in 5 containers. More or less about 400 bikes in a container.
So when did you when was your first shipment?
So 3 months in the U.S.,
Yes.
I ran out of money. And I said, you have to tell me if they're really going to give the bikes, because there's a shipment on July
This
for
was
you.
2011.
2011, yeah. So I
And
was
how-
there in May.
Okay.
June, July, so already 3 months.
How
May.
large was the first shipment?
The biggest, according to them, the biggest number of bikes that they ship, 566 bikes.
Oh my goodness.
That's-
Now,
First
that's
shipment.
actually, it's because they were asking me which bikes I needed. And I didn't know anything about bikes. So I told them, just put in anything that you could. So from the smallest to the biggest,
Okay.
that's why it's the most number of bikes. I really had no idea. When they guaranteed the shipment, which I loaded myself, it's not an easy job.
You
huh?
loaded the bicycles onto
The 500,
container.
well, there was 3 of us, and I had a good friend of mine, Mauricio, who used to work in the U.S. Embassy here. 4 of us loading 566 bikes.
And Joel, what condition were these bicycles
They're
in? Really,
used.
they were used, but they were ready
But
to go.
Okay, so that's the next problem aside from the freight.
Okay.
So I had to ask a friend to pay for the freight.
Oh my.
A good friend of mine who believed in the program. So
sure.
this is all from the U.S. Huh?
Yeah.
I couldn't go back home. So he said, "Are you willing to pay?" He said, "Yes, I'll pay for it." This guy is Chris Schuf. He's Filipino, but his father is German. So he said, "Okay, we're gonna pay for the freight." So I said, "Okay, that
Okay.
problem is solved." So we loaded it, but I had to wait another year and another month because I wanted to make sure that the bikes would really.
Okay, you had to make sure each bike was working.
Before that, I had the problem with warehousing, right? Because then it took 60 days when I came back to the Philippines. I had to look for a warehouse.
Yeah, to store them in. This is
Exactly.
called logistics.
Yeah, exactly. My gosh.
So that's why I didn't know what I was getting myself
Okay.
into. So I was having a vacation with my sister-in-law, and I said, so she knew about the bikes coming. She goes, "Oh, so how are the bikes?" I said, "It's on the way, but I have a problem with the warehouse." She goes, "We have a warehouse." So I said, "You have a warehouse where?" She goes, "There, in Merville." So she goes, "Why don't you go and visit it?" So I went to the warehouse. It was empty. There was nothing.
Oh, wow.
So I
Like
said, "I'm gonna
answered
get."
prayers.
All
huh?
these things falling into place.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Question. Did anyone try to tax you?
We paid the tax.
You have to pay
I
tax
paid
for
the
this?
tax. So I just cost it on. I think it's easier that way. And we
Yes,
also have
it's
the
clean,
government.
right, that's
It's clean.
that way.
It gets released in 5 days.
I hope the tax
So-
rate was reasonable.
It's reasonable if I charge it onto because the bikes are already free, right? So it makes a little difference if it's free.
Okay, so it comes in, you paid the
Okay,
tax.
the next is the repairs.
Yeah. Oh, you have to
Ah,
repair
okay,
it.
Yes.
hold on. Repairs is a very important part of this situation here. But if we can just pause for a little moment and have a little commercial break, don't go away. See you back here at Privilege Card.